Hello, welcome to episode 4. So, just to quickly recap what we did last time, we got as far as building out this content type here, which is called an article, with some standard fields like title and summary, and then we've got our complicated page builder element of the page. And in this, we've got an image block with one image and a text block with a body field. It looks at the moment like this, which is pretty basic. There's our title and then our summary, and then we've got our content blocks here. Today we're going to cover two things. We're going to add some categories so that we can filter by different kinds of content, and we're going to cover how to organize your components and match them up to the blocks that you see in Contento here. So that you've got a nice system for building out reusable chunks of content throughout a site. So first of all, we're going to start off with categories. I don't know if you remember, we had this set of content types at the beginning, and this is the last piece of the puzzle for modeling out the article content. The rest of these content types I won't cover in detail. Mostly they've got the same kinds of fields as we've got in the article. The only difference, I think, is video on the tutorial. And for that, I'm just going to use a plain text field, which we can pop the YouTube link into. And I think maybe later on in the series, I'll just cover how you might use that. There's a couple of different libraries or ways that you can pull that video out into your web page. So today we're going to cover categories first. So what I'm going to do is just go over to my content types area. And first of all, I'm going to create another content type to hold the categories in. And that is going to be called categories. Category. And then I think we should just put my slug parameter in here. I'm going to have one set of categories across all the different types of content. So on the front of the site, we're going to be able to see a list of all content tagged with a particular category, and it doesn't matter if it's a video or a tip or an article. So for that reason, I'm going to have a top level URL segment called categories that will allow you to build a page that is for one category that showcases all the different kinds of content under it. You could then get more complicated if you wanted to on the front of your site and pull out all articles that are tagged with a particular category in a separate URL. But for the purposes of the sort of root canonical URL for each category, they're going to have their own page. So I'm going to call that category /slug. So that it's nice and obvious. We're going to have a title for categories, and that's it. I don't want to give it any other data for now. Maybe later on I could add some more fields to it, but I don't see myself needing them for the time being. So that will give me another section over here where I can add my categories, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a couple now so I've got something to work with. Okay, that'll do for now. So I've got these 4 different categories here, and the next thing that I want to do is be able to select them from my article page. So if you remember the article page we started with at the beginning, which looks like this, I want to add a field on here now that will allow me to select more than one category. So to do that, I need to go and edit my article here. I'm going to add a new field. I'm going to select this one over here called content links, which if you read the description says that it allows you to create relationships between content. So in other systems, this might be called references. or relationship builder or something like that, but it basically allows you to create a link between two pieces of content and keep them up to date. So if you go and edit the category, it will keep the article up to date with that edited category name or something like that. I'm going to call it categories, and then I'm going to select the category content type that we just created. I'm going to switch this setting on. You can read more about this over here in our docs, but essentially it just allows the category to be fully expanded in the API response as opposed to just getting back a reference to the ID, which just makes it easier to work with, quite frankly. Okay, so I've added that. Now I'm going to go back to my content, and if I go into my article here, I can see my new field and I can add some categories to it. Nice. Okay, I'm just going to do that for the rest of my content here. So we've got something to work with. Okay. So next we're going to figure out how to display that over here on our front end template. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to show you what the API response looks like for that field we just created. And in fact, this is going to be some JSON, so I'm just going to put my debugger on. Okay, cool. So this is the contents of that field, categories. You can see we've got a content links field, and in that is an array of fully expanded pieces of content under the nested content link key. If you'd switched off that toggle setting, then you wouldn't see this whole object here. In this case, it's not that big because we've only got a title field on it, but if you've got loads of fields, it might be quite large. And it can cause your API response to be a bit slow sometimes, particularly if you're fetching large collections of objects that are related to more large objects. So that's really why that setting is there. Most of the time you can just switch it on. Okay, so this gives us the syntax that we need to access various related categories. So I'm just going to work through that now and give myself a little list of categories to output here. So I'm going to go categories equals content.fields.categories. And then to be honest, I might just format this up here where it's a bit easier to see. I really can't spell category. Okay. And here I'm gonna just return category.content link was our key, .fields.title.text. So that's our main title. And then I'm also gonna output the URI for it so that we can link to it later and stuff like that. So those are the only two bits of data I really need. And then I should be able to see what that looks like. I've missed something off the map because it should be .content links. Nice, so now I've got a neat little array of titles and URIs for my categories. I can then output that however I want with buttons and link to the routes that we haven't built yet but need to build and stuff like that. So first of all, I think I'm going to go and build a category route and get it to pull out some data. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll just quickly explain what I've done at the end. Okay, so after a quick bit of building, we're back with a new route called category /slug effectively, which is going to show our list of articles that are in a particular category. So I've done it in reverse to how you might expect, for a reason, because I wanted to show you this undocumented feature of our API, which I need to document, which is how to filter by field content. So if you use the standard get content method in the SDK, you can then pass any API params that you want to do. So here we're passing our normal article one to say I want to fetch articles, I'm putting in a max limit of 100 just so that I get a decent sized list. And then you can use the sort of array syntax of filtering here, where we're going to say fields. I want to get content links fields under the categories key and filter by the slug. So when I'm on a category of Next.js or something like that, I'm looking for articles that have a content link with a slug of Next.js in them. That's what this is doing, and we will document it soon, because this is the best way you can do what we're trying to do here and get a list of articles in a certain category. The other way of doing it, if you don't fancy using undocumented API features, is to fetch all articles and then filter them in JavaScript. But I prefer this method, which is why we have this baked into the API, because you only get back the data you need. You let the API do the filtering for you. So in this route here, which is /category/slug, we're then loading up a new page template, which I've created, and sending those articles into it. We're also sending in the parent category itself, so we can display the title and anything else that we might want to display, like SEO data or stuff like that. So if we go ahead and open up the category page, now you can see we're passing in the articles over here and the initial content. So the only stuff that's running through live preview is the initial content, but we could run the articles through that and stuff as well if we wanted to. And then we're simply just outputting a list of them. We're using the next link component here, which ties into the next router, and we're passing it the article URI. And the title of it is being output here as well. Cool. So this looks a little bit like this. So I've gone to category/next and I've got one article. If I go to /next, I should get two articles. Here we go. And now you can see on this page template for an article, we want to put our links back. So I'm just going to walk you through that a bit more slowly, and then hopefully you can see how it all sews together at the end. So coming back to my article page, we've now got this list of categories here, and I'm just going to do a map. I don't know what that shortcut is, but I always press it and it really annoys me. Category, and then I'm going to output. I might put these in a list as well for now. I need an index so that I can have a unique key inside my map. And then I'm going to do next link again, href, my / in so it works. Category .uri. Missing that, aren't I? And then inside here, what else have we got? So this is our pre-formatted data. Now, obviously, I could loop this and pull it all off with full API accesses just directly in the template. But it's a good practice to sort of pre-format complicated data so that your template side of things is a bit easier to read, in my experience anyway. So here I can now just do category.title. Okay, and I can see I've got these two links appearing here. Let's get rid of my debugger. Excellent. So now I can switch, between the category listing page and the article which has them on it. So to recap, on this article page, we're looking at the linked categories that are in the category field. And then when we go to the category page itself, we're looking at a list of articles which we've pulled using the fields filter from the API. Okay, so far, so good. I think the next step here is probably going to be to sort out the block matcher. So that is here where we've got our content blocks. They're not very maintainable at the moment, and I would like them to be a bit less verbose. So we've got this massive switch statement here. I want that hidden away and more maintainable. So to do that, we use this method, I guess, called block matching, and I'm going to show you how that works now. So I'm going to start by creating a new component called block matcher. So I'm just going to create this component here super quickly. And I'm going to paste in the map and its switch statement and start working with it here. Nice. Okay. So that's actually JSX wrapping here. So really what I want to do is just return that. Okay, cool. Now you can see originally we were just looping through a particular set of blocks on the article. Well, I want to change this so that it can accept any old set of blocks that we give it. So I'm going to just make a parameter here. And then I can loop that and output it. Nice. Okay. So if I go back to my article now, I should be able to get the same effects as we've currently got by just using my new component. So block matcher, put the blocks into it, and we should get the same end result. And we do. Good. Okay, so next step is to break each part of this out into its own component, and that means that we can stop building a huge component that's unreadable and instead have a nice folder of discrete components. So I'm going to create a new folder here called blocks. I'm going to get a text block. Inside each one of these, I'm going to pass the block data that we will have from being inside the loop. So if I go and look at my block matcher now, I can see that, you know, I've got this whole block to play with. So what I'm going to do is in my text block do that. I'll come back to my block matcher, and then I'm simply going to return the text block component here and pass in that. Now it also wants a key because we're inside a loop. Really, it should have a key. So we'll get onto that in a minute. I'm just going to create the image block as well. Okay, so I've done the image and the text block, which means now I can return the image block instead here, and we've got a much more manageable block matcher. Now, the final step really is I need an ID to come out, or some kind of unique key. I could use the index here, but there might be multiple instances of block matcher on a page. So really I want to make sure I've got a proper ID to tie in with that. So I'm just going to do this instead. Nice. And I'm going to go index. Oh. ID. Okay, so that should give me a unique key, which keeps React happy. Excellent. Okay. So this system then scales really well. So every time you create a new block type in Contento, you can just create a new block component here, add it into the switch statement, and then anytime you send a stack of blocks to Block Matcher, it will just render them in whatever order they are in when they come down the API. There is some documentation for this on our website. But it looks like this. There's just a component there that you can copy and paste in. And you might find that your page template, if you're only using blocks and you just want to create like a landing page builder or something like that, you know, your page template can be as simple as this, just one component that loops out blocks. But in our case, we've got more stuff going on than just that, because we've got our categories and other fields that are surrounding it. So cool, this should work, and it should make it much easier to add more blocks to our content field as we go. So when I add a video block, or if I want to add like a call to action to a newsletter or something like that, then I can add all of those as discrete blocks and just add them into the system that we've just created. Cool. Okay. I think the final thing to do is, today at least, is to make a list of articles, which I'm just going to do on our homepage. Okay, so our homepage in Contento has nothing on it. It just has a title field. You know, you might add more content links here or something to link to featured posts or stuff like that. But for now, I just want to automatically output a list of all the articles. And then once I've added the other content types like videos or tips, I might also include like the latest 3 from each of those sections or something like that. So I'm just going to show you how to output that list. Now it's very similar to what we did on the category page. Cool. So the first thing that I want to do is just create an API call in the root of my home page. So I'm going to do articles, create client, and I'm going to do get content by type. And then in here, what's the args for this? Oh yeah, content type, article, limit 3. There you go. So I think that's all I really want. And then I'm going to create another prop on the general page to pass this in. So for now, I shall just do this. And I'll come in here. Okay, cool. Just come back here. I'm gonna actually because this returns an array, I need to just fetch the content key off it, which is the actual array of content rather than just async this method up here just returns a single piece of content, whereas this one obviously is a collection, so I need to fetch the collection of that here. Okay, so now I should have an array of articles. I can just output them again with the map function. So articles.map. Great. Cool, okay. So we've got our list of articles, and again, I need to put them in a link. .uri will do me here. Cool. So, we've learned a few things. We learned how to list content in 2 different ways. Maybe I should have started with this, just the basic way of listing content. But also, we've learned how to create a sort of reverse lookup of content that's been tagged with a particular category, and then also output the categories on the article itself. And in this case, we've done some pre-formatting of the data so that the template's a bit nicer. Okay, that's probably enough for today. In the next episode, I'm going to cover deploying it to Vercel, and I think, and how that ties into Contento, because you can trigger a deployment from Contento so that when you've made some changes to the content, you can just run a build or get your clients to do that. And in between times, I'm probably going to tidy this up, put some Tailwind in, make it look a bit nicer, and probably build out the other content types as well. So it should look a bit better by the time we get to deploying it. And then we can maybe even buy a domain, point it at Vercel, and start having a website from beginning to end. Cool. All right. Thanks for staying with me. See you next time.